Dragon Age the Veilguard is reportedly doing worse in sales than Star Wars Outlaws. That is how bad this game is doing. I'm actually shocked by this. I cannot believe this. This is disastrous for EA and BioWare. But at the same time, should we be surprised? Because look at all of the absolute nasty, disgusting, evil agenda that is injected into this game. It is far, far worse than Star Wars Outlaws and its agenda, albeit both of them have evil agendas in it. But let's get to this right here. I wrote this up over at thatparkplace.com. You can find a link in the description below. You can also find a link to become a member of the channel and help support me in what I am doing here. So this rumor comes to us from Endymion. He revealed that a source shared with him that the game has only sold about 500,000 copies, 500,000 copies, which is just half what is rumored regarding Star Wars Outlaws. And remember, that was over, obviously, Star Wars Outlaws was over a month. We had 1 million units sold in a month. Dragon Age the Veilguard, about half of that in just a week. But most game sales are done very shortly in a game's early in the game's life cycle. So within the first couple of weeks or so. So they got to double those sales numbers in the next 3 weeks to match Star Wars Outlaws. That's how bad this game is doing right now. So this is what Endymion said. This is from my same source that I shared previous Dragon Age pre-order numbers with, which was in my video a few days back. Apparently, according to them, pre-orders for Veilguard were even less than initially thought. I told you in the last video, they were roughly 115,000 total pre-orders across all platforms. That's digital and physical, by the way. And new info that my source has now told me that the numbers actually may have been too high. The number that they are hearing from people at EA now is that it was actually between 70 to 75,000 pre-orders in total before release, which is, not good at all. He's absolutely right in that assertion. In total, what I'm told is that Veilguard may have sold overall so far anyway in the 500,000 range, which may sound good to some, but this is completely abysmal for a game of this level. He's absolutely right. Remember, Ubisoft is telling us that 1 million copies, if that rumor is true, was softer than expectations, and the game completely underperformed. That is what Ubisoft has been saying about Star Wars Outlaws. Game is underperformed. Sales are softer than expectations. And I think those are understatements, right? Because they literally degraded their expectations for the second quarter when Star Wars Outlaws released from 500 million euros to 350 to 370 million euros. They degraded it by 30%. It came in on the very low end of those new expectations. So they only actually did bring in 351 million euros. That is really, really bad. And remember, there was analysts, investors expecting this game to do at least 5 million units sold within that first month. And they thought those were conservative. They thought those were low estimates. 5 million units in that first month did not happen. We're only seeing 1 million units. That's how bad that game did. And now we're seeing Dragon Age the Veilguard. It looks like it's performing even worse. Based on this rumor. So not only did he share that the game sales were only around 500,000, but Endymion also revealed that players are, quote, refunding the game in droves. He said this: as I was told by my same source, BioWare's higher-ups believe the game would skyrocket past 100,000 concurrent players on Steam during launch. I think that is 100% true. We saw, what is the guy's name? EA CEO Andrew Wilson was saying this has the potential for a breakout success or something like that. Who was he kidding? Like, where do these people like finding who's feeding them this stuff? Are they just like trying to hype this up to try and boost sales in an investor like earnings call? Are they trying to hype up investors to maybe like invest in the company because they think they're going to have really good sales or something like that? Otherwise, like, because all the things we were seeing was like this game was headed for disaster. Like, it was all there. Negative comments on YouTube, low interest on Steam, wasn't even like breaking into the top sellers on Steam until like a week before its release. Not even. I think you had to get up to like the first 2 or 3 days before releases when you actually started seeing it kind of get in there. And that's when it had zero competition. It wasn't on the PlayStation charts. It was like down in like 30th position for like the first month or 2 months. And the only reason why it moved up was because games came out like Metaphor Refunds and Dragon Ball Sparking Zero and the EA Sports games and stuff like that. Those are the only reason why it even moved up. And you know that these people at EA, BioWare, they have like the actual pre-sales data. They see all of this stuff. They're tracking all of this stuff. So I don't know why these people like straight up lie to us. They should just be honest. it's just a sad state in society where people just constantly lie and lie and lie and lie and lie over and over and over again. We got to get back to being honest. We got to get back to being truthful, and that's what we're about here at the Trump Report. So Endymion goes on and says this. It didn't, of course. It only hit 89,000 and has dropped since. Apparently, in terms of the EA subscription service, where you pay a monthly fee to play their catalog of games, which Veilguard is a part of, this offer only ended up pulling in around 20,000 players on Origin, as I'm told, which is hardly anything for a game that, again, needs far more than this to succeed. I'm also told, in terms of refunds, that currently the game had at least 30,000 refunds in the past few days, which is not good for your game that has barely sold 500,000 copies to be hemorrhaging players like this. So generally speaking, Veilguard is not a commercial success. It needed to sell around the 4 to 5 million mark to make a profit at least. And well, it's not doing that. It actually might need to be more. I mean, we're seeing budgets like Concord where it's $400 million over at Sony. And that doesn't even include what they paid to purchase Firewalk Studios from probably Monsters Force. So, and we know this game was in development for at least 10 years. It went through multiple iterations. They probably spent even more than what a lot of people are estimating. That's my guess. And we've seen this throughout the industry. They just had massively ballooned budgets. We're also it's not just in video games, right? We've been seeing this in the movies and the television shows where they're just absolutely spending like crazy and they're not getting return on that spend. So I think that 4 to 5 million mark might actually be low in order for this game to break even, given the fact that we're seeing like a 10-year dev cycle and we're seeing all these other patterns throughout the video game industry with the overspending. I would not be surprised if they did that with this game as well. So if this rumor is true, the Veilguard is likely selling worse than Star Wars Outlaws. It is rumored that that game sold around 1 million copies in its first month since release. As I said earlier, we got that from Grant Taylor Hill over at Insider Gaming. He said this: we have secured a current sales figure from sources close to the game. At the time of writing, Star Wars Outlaws has just ticked over 1 million sales worldwide. Again, that was about a month after the game release. So at the 1 month mark there. And as I said, Veilguard has only been out for a week, but still, it had to double its sales in the next 3 weeks to match Outlaws' rumored first month sales. And I think the window is quickly going to shut on them getting there. I would be surprised if they get there. I do think we have a lot of other pieces of evidence, obviously, aside from this rumor from Endymion saying that sales are only around 500,000. I think there's a lot of other pieces of evidence that kind of point to the fact that this game is not doing well. It's definitely not the breakout success that EA CEO Andrew Wilson was saying that it had the potential to become. You can just look at the Steam numbers that Endymion referenced. You can see it hit a peak concurrent of 89,418 on Sunday. It has declined, obviously, since then. In the most recent 24 hours, it just hit a peak of 53,551. I would not be surprised if we see the number actually go down, continuing to go down rather than maybe get back up this coming Sunday. I would not be surprised if we see it dip to about half of what it was the last Sunday, and that is damning. That is very damning. That means they are not moving any units at all, likely. And if they are moving any, it are extremely marginal. And again, shows that the fact that that window is very short on when you actually make a lot of the sales, very front loaded. Furthermore, BioWare has not made an announcement regarding how well the game sales have been. That is in comparison to Atlas, who shared that Metaphor Refunds sold 1 million units in its first 24 hours, or Bandai Namco sharing that Dragon Ball Sparking Zero sold 3 million units in its first 24 hours. I think the last thing we saw on the official BioWare account is some bug fixes or something like that they're putting out for the game. Absolutely nothing about how well the game has performed. And I think that is very telling when you're not actually showing that, because I mean, you can look at Wukong. They shared that the way they did like 10 million units or whatever in the first 24 hours, 48 hours, whatever it was. You can look at Elden Ring. They released something on how well their latest expansion did as well, Shadow of the Erd Tree. So the fact that they're not saying anything shows that it's not doing that well. Another piece of evidence is the fact that BioWare revealed it will not be creating any DLC or expansions for the game and has already begun shifting its development focus to Mass Effect 5. This is something out of the ordinary for BioWare. Usually with their games, they do have DLC. We saw that with Origins. We saw that with Dragon Age 2. You saw that with Inquisition. They usually have expansion and DLC. Clearly, not in the cards here with Veilguard, which seems to me that that breakout success or breakout potential that Andrew Wilson was like kind of trying to talk about. He actually didn't believe that at all, because if you actually believe that, you would be working on creating DLC or an expansion. You would have something like that planned because you would think that your game is going to actually be a breakout success and you could get even more gross revenue from selling an expansion or DLC. And we see that. I mean, you could just look at Elden Ring, right? And I think it did like close to 1 million peak concurrent players. Somewhere it's like in the 900,000 mark. And then you look at when Erdtree released and it hit like 700 something. So you clearly had a lot of people who purchased the game the first time, came back and purchased the DLC. Obviously, I wouldn't say it's probably 100%, but you're probably looking around maybe 75 to 80% of your player base purchasing that DLC or expansion. And that is a lot of extra revenue that you can bring in for that DLC or expansion. And it's worth it. And clearly EA did not see the value in doing that for this game. And we had George Yang report this over at Rolling Stone. He reported it literally the day the game released. He says, with Dragon Age Veilguard on Halloween, with Dragon Age Veilguard now complete, BioWare confirms that there are currently no plans for downloadable expansions. He added the developers' full attention has now shifted entirely to the next Mass Effect as their current project. And then finally, we have the Mass Effect 5 game director, Michael Gamble. Seemingly, in my opinion, he's already doing damage control for his game in the wake of Dragon Age the Veilguard being lampooned. He posted this on X. Lots of people asking me about Mass Effect now that Veilguard reviews are out and October 31 is close. Both are from the studio, but Mass Effect is Mass Effect. How you bring a sci-fi RPG to life is different than other genres or IPs and has to have different kinds of love. Regarding tone questions, Mass Effect will maintain the mature tone of the original trilogy. This is all I'm going to say for now. So completely trying to distance Mass Effect from Dragon Age already, clearly pointing out that responding to the fact that people are like, this isn't Dragon Age anymore. And he's trying to reassure people that we will be keeping Mass Effect. Although I'm not really sure I have confidence in that, given what they did with what they've already done with Mass Effect in previous installments, right? But then he also kind of pointed out this here with this guy saying Mass Effect has always had its fair share of humor and silliness, and Gamble's like serious characters put in some humorous situations, confirming the kind of tone that you can expect or what they're aiming for. And then this guy says, please don't Pixar Mass Effect like you guys do with Dragon Age. And Gamble says, I'm not sure I agree with the Pixar thing, but Mass Effect is photorealistic and will be as long as I'm running it. So kind of ensuring that they will not be changing the art style, which they clearly did with Dragon Age the Veilguard. It is goofy looking, silly looking. The monster designs don't look scary or ferocious at all. They look goofy. They look terrible. Obviously, the character creation looks absolutely abysmal too, and just the whole art design, it doesn't look serious. And Dragon Age is a serious game, and sure, like it has light moments and things like that, and there are moments of humor, but it is a serious, dark fantasy, and they completely tried to remove it from that, and obviously inserted all the gender ideology and all that stuff as well. And then there's just terrible writing. There's feminism all over the place. And Demian mentions in this video that you get a chance to like replace one of the Grey Warden leaders, and if you choose to like replace him, he's replaced by a woman. Of course he is. And then if you don't choose to replace him, he ends up getting killed. So like you literally have to get rid of the Grey Warden, who is a white guy that they paint as this bad person. So clearly pushing the agenda there in this game, and they're paying the price for that. Gamers have chosen to close their wallets, and rightfully so. But let me know what you guys make of this rumor that Dragon Age the Veilguard has sold less units than Star Wars Outlaws, 500,000 less. This is great. Fantastic news. But let me know what you guys make of this. Let me know in the comments below. Remember to always be charitable, especially to each other, and to always speak the truth.